When you come from a place of lack, and when I say lack, I mean when you don't have a two-parent home, when you don't grow up in a two-parent healthy dynamic, there's going to be some sort of deficit, some sort of lack, whether that's mentally, psychologically, emotionally, socially. You're going to lack. If you didn't have your mother, you didn't have feminine energy resonating through your home in a healthy manner. If you didn't have your father, you didn't have masculine energy resonating in your home in a healthy way, right? And so for me, I didn't have my dad in my life. And so it caused me to uh, visually envision for myself what I wanted for myself, right? I wanted a two-parent home for my kids. I wanted a husband. I wanted a man. I wanted a long-term relationship. I wanted this. I wanted that. And so when you come from a place of lack and trauma, it can cause you to start visualizing things in your mind and start coming into agreement with that visualization, right? Or with that whatever you're imagining. The Bible tells us to cast down our imaginations, right? Because sometimes what we envision for ourselves is not what God envisioned for us, right? And so for me, I envisioned having a two-parent home. I envisioned having a long-term relationship, and I came into agreement with it so badly, so much, that even when I was hurting and I was traumatized and I was dealing with toxicity and I was being cheated on and I was being lied to and I was going through, literally going through, being drugged through the depths of hell, I still held on to what was in my mind due to lack, right? And also due to fear. But what we have to start doing is trusting that God's plan is to give us the desires of our heart. But we have to make sure that we are, number one, consulting with God in all of our plans. Don't even imagine how your life would be. Consult with God first. Whether you didn't have a dad and mom, consult with God first. That is the first thing you need to do. Second thing is, we have to stop, as ladies especially, stop making a man your everything. Having a man just to say you have a man is not a flex, okay? If that man is not treating you right, it's not a flex. It's better to be alone. And sometimes fear will cause us to hold on to things that we know are not no good for us, right? Because we fear what we grew up on. We fear experiencing what we experienced as children. We fear our children experiencing things that we experience, right? But what that is a sign of, it's a sign that you don't have full control over your life. We have to understand that we have the power to change our life. We have the power to change our situation, period, right? And so for me, when I went through what I went through, what it was, of course, very, very hard for me mentally, psychologically, right? Very, very traumatic. But the biggest takeaway that I had to realize is this: when you start to get busy and you start to really put yourself first, that's when the devil gets busy too. So we have to have enough faith and trust in God and faith and trust in ourselves and our own abilities that we stay consistent enough and faithful enough, and we anticipate on the things that God has for us, even when it doesn't look like it. Even when all hell is breaking off in our life, we have to understand that God wants better. And the only way you're going to get better is if you do better. The only way you're going to, your fear, the fear is also a sign of self-doubt and insecurity, right? Because you fear what your life will look like or be like without that person. You may think that you'll never find someone, but it has to be something bigger, something greater, right? And so I feel like a lot of times, ladies especially, we make having a man everything. And it's not. It's literally not what you make it out to be. It's not what people make it out to be. I was in a relationship for 10 plus years. It's not what y'all think it is. And so that goes back to when I say, when you are making up your life as you go in your mind and it's off the strength of your own lack, you will start falling in love with a fairy tale in your mind, and now you can't even accept your reality, right? And so I think we have to, in order for us to break the barrier of fear, we have to know that we have the power and we have the ability to change our life and change our situation by what? Being consistent, being self-disciplined, right? Being consistent even when there's no results, right? Because God's plan is to prosper us. Period. Period, point blank, right? And so when we have a fear, when fear is present, now fear is also a sign if you're still learning, right? And sometimes people need to still learn. And sometimes if you're still learning, you can be in a place of fear. You can be in a place of awkwardness. You can be in a place of, I don't know, and I'm afraid. Because the biggest thing that's stressful for Americans is change, right? But we have to, the biggest thing that I took away is that I am so goal focused. You have to figure out, what is your why? Why do you want to succeed? Right? What do you want to do with your life? What makes you happy? And start doing it. And it's not going to be easy at first, because you're not going to see it pay off at first. But you know what God spoke to me and said the other day? He said, you have to be willing to plant seeds. What does that mean? That means that you have to be willing to do the work, put the things in place, and see no results for a very long time. But you are still watering. You are still being consistent in your daily harvest. You are still checking to see for sprouts and making sure there's not too much sunlight. You have to be willing to do the work before anything pays off, right? And so I feel like when God said you have to be willing to plant seeds, we have to understand instant gratification is literally a thief. It's a thief. It robs us. It robs us of us not being able to be patient and wait on the Lord. You must be willing to wait on the Lord. And you must be willing to be still, even in the midst of whatever it is that you have going on. And so I feel like never operate from a place of lack. I feel like I was operating from a place of lack and trauma for so long that I literally wasn't even in tune with my own reality. And so I encourage you, especially women, to go after the things that you want to do. Put you first. It's going to be so hard putting yourself first when you come from a place of lack, when you don't come from a two-parent household, when you didn't see certain normal things in your life. It's going to be so hard to not make a man your everything. It's going to be so hard to not get attached to masculine energy. It's going to be so hard not to get attached to toxic things, because why? We've fallen in love with the idea and fallen out of reality. And so for me, I had to snap back, like, okay, this is my reality, this is my life. I have to take my power back and take control. And the way that you do that is you be consistent and you be faithful in the Lord. I love y'all. Peace.